Hi everyone, this is Judd Mercer. I'm a painter based in Denver, Colorado, and I just wanted to share this time lapse of a plein air piece of this little stream. So this is in Colorado, just west of Morrison, in a place called Lair of the Bear, and this is in October. So I chose this scene because I liked obviously the falling water, but a lot of the color complexities and all this driftwood, along with the piled up leaves. So initially here, I'm painting in gouache and blocking in a lot of the big dark shapes. So you can see my reference photo in the corner that I snapped as well. But I liked all the kind of the dark surrounding the light of the stream. So it's a little bit of a challenge. This is an overcast day, so on all these wet logs, you get that sort of purpley top to them as they reflect the gray of the sky above, and then you get almost a warm underneath because the water is pretty flat, not a lot of reflected light. So it's kind of a tricky puzzle to figure out. So here I'm really just blocking in sort of the large color values, and then when areas dry, I'm coming back in pretty much a wet on dry technique. So you can see here I'm pushing that lavender color on the top of those wet logs, which kind of gives it that more realistic look. And in the background above the falls piece, those are reflections from the foliage in the distance you can see in the reference photo. So I'm not really too careful about being too precise here. I'm really just trying to get the main areas of color blocked in and some of the values. So I'm starting to put in some of that orange here. You can see that once you do that, it makes the more purple values of those logs pop a little bit in contrast, just because it's a little yellow. So I'm trying to keep just figuring out how much of that white or the lighter gray, really, to push in those falls to get it to read without it being too stark. So if you paint plein air, you'll probably know that painting overcast is actually trickier because the shadows are much more subtle and the color transitions are much more subtle as well. So it can be a challenge, but it's good practice. So I'm using a round brush now as opposed to the squares that I was using earlier to to find some of those smaller shapes. So that stroke right there and here is that paler driftwood. So it's lost its bark and it's a little bit bleached. So it's pretty cold because it's overcast. If this is a sunny day, that would be much more of a creamy, buttery kind of color. But it's a lot flatter here, and I'm pushing that as well to offset that triangle shadow, which is really the focal point next to the waterfall, that lightest light against the darkest dark, which you can kind of see in the photo as well. So it kind of grabs your eye immediately, pulls it across with that branch covering the falls, looping down and around, kind of keep the eye moving with some rest areas of those big rocks in the foreground and the upper left as well. So I'm not looking at the scene too much at this point. It's more about the painting now. But here and there I'm kind of getting cues, especially in the leaves. You can even see in the background underneath my legs, there's leaves here. So I'm trying to get a sense of like how to simplify piles of leaves without it being too complicated, because There, even a dry leaf sitting on the ground that's wet has a ton of different values depending on how it's turned towards the sky. So it's a little complicated. You can kind of see the little twig I added crossing the falls too. Just, again, a smaller detail with all the larger details draws the focus even more to that space. So, choosing the details carefully to know where to put them. And you can see, like in the corners, I'm kind of letting it all go and not really worrying too much about what's there because it's not really the point. So you can really start to see the values coming in to play here. Some splatters for the mist and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's overall it's a good little scene. It's a great exercise. I probably spent about an hour on the dot for something like this. So you can kind of see the full reveal, and thanks for watching.